It seems to me that we have things almost completely backwards. Somehow, we have convinced ourselves that if we avoid the hard things in life, somehow our life won't be as hard. If we avoid the difficult conversations with our spouses or our partners or our kids, things we don't know how to say, things we don't love about them anymore, things that we don't know how to resolve in our daily conversations and conflicts with those we say we love. And so we resort to a kind of habitual denial or avoidance. You can see it everywhere in our culture. We're distracted, we're busy, we're addicted to drugs or activity or trying to achieve success or whatever else. We're in a constant struggle, so many of us, to avoid the things that are hardest to face and that somehow always seem to nag at us inside. And of course, one of the things that nags the most is this, it's different for everyone, but this conflicted, confused, often unhappy thing that we call ourself. We're conflicted about all the things we don't like, all the ways we feel like we should be better or different, or should have done better, or should be working to do better, or all the things that we cringe about. I wish I'd never done that, or I don't want to have to think about that, or I don't want to think about what I did or what happened to me. And in that avoidance, one of the things that can happen is the avoidance of a kind of acceptance and therefore accountability for whatever it is that we are or whatever it is that we've done. And that shell can get harder and harder, more and more defended. I don't want to look at this. I don't want to feel this. I don't want to acknowledge this. I don't want to admit this rage that I feel inside me, this depression, this unhappiness, this shame. I don't want to admit it, so I get more and more frustrated and externally focused on trying to get this monkey off my back. So I don't want to take accountability for the things that I've done. I don't want to admit them to myself. I don't want to admit them to you. I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to be open. I want to be loved. I want to enjoy my life. But damn it, I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to be open. I don't want to have to feel these unpleasant things inside me. And that hardness and that avoidance and that closed way that we get in relation to ourselves, in relation to each other, and in relation to life can lead to a kind of avoidance for our own accountability for who I am, what I've done, what I bring to the table, what I don't bring to the table, what I'm ashamed of, what I'm scared shitless about, how I don't dare to love you, I don't dare to be loved by you. And so I throw up all these walls and I throw up all this blame and all this anger, and I avoid accountability for my behavior, for my actions, for my foolishness, for my cruelty, for all the things that I do and all the things that I have done. It's understandable. If we think of hard things as bad things, things to avoid, we don't want to take accountability for them. We don't want to be open about them. So we just get harder and harder, and more distant, and more inaccessible, and more defended against taking accountability, not in a moralistic sense, but in just a human sense of understanding that this is my life. The challenges that are here in my life are here for me to face and for me to resolve in my own ways. And we lose the simple realization that accountability, internal accountability, and then accountability for others, to others, is perhaps the simplest and most important step to freedom. We can't be free when we're defended. We can't be free when we're conflicted within ourselves, when we're hiding things. When we bring everything to the surface, there's a way that everything can be revealed to just be okay. It's okay because it happened. Life happens. Ugly things happen for all of us. And the process of being accountable for them, of revealing them, of being truthful about them is the way to freedom, is the way of taking this tremendous, the weight of everything that we're trying to avoid, but is nonetheless on our back, taking that off our back and letting it go. You may have had the experience of admitting something to someone, to a loved one, or to a counselor, or to a family member, to anyone, to admitting something that you are terrified to admit, and feeling a great weight being lifted. And so this cultural disease that we have of avoidance and lack of accountability, I don't want to take accountability because I don't want to have to face the truth of what I am and what I've done and what I've done to you and what I'm doing to life. I don't want to feel that. But in taking that accountability, in letting go of the avoidance, walking straight into the middle of the tremendous vulnerability of admitting what we are, the conflictedness, the hatefulness, the shamefulness, the passion, the beauty, even the positive, lovely qualities. In doing that, there's a tremendous relief, the beginning of a liberation. Holding ourselves accountable isn't a burden. It's a freedom. It's an admitting that life is as it is. I am as I am. And I'm going to bring that forth and reveal it. And both put it on my shoulders and let it off my shoulders. Paradoxically, the way to get these monkeys off our back is simply to admit that they're there. And when we begin to challenge that cycle of avoidance and not taking accountability for the simple truth of what's here and what we are, things really begin to change. And when we become someone who is actively taking responsibility and accountability for our own lives, there can be a greater capacity to help other people take accountability for theirs. Not in a judgmental, self-righteous way of, you have to do this in order to be a good person, but as someone who's discovered the relief and the freedom of taking accountability for ourselves and realizing that we can share that freedom, that space, that capacity with others. And we can help others begin to take accountability for their own lives, for their own situations, for their own burdens, for their own karma, if you will, if you think that way. So it's an internal accountability to begin with. And then there's an accountability that isn't a moral judgment or a pressure or a self-righteousness about what other people do. It's just a way of sharing, that avoidance, that lack of accountability looks like it's burdening you. It looks like it's a burden not to accept the weight of your own life and your own choices. And you don't have to go that way. And the sharing of the experience and the wisdom that accountability is not the real burden. Accountability is the way to each of us finding our own freedom and then sharing that freedom with one another. Thank you for listening here in the rain. Thank you for coming to this channel. If you like what you hear here, please do feel free to like and subscribe and to comment. I appreciate you visiting. See you again soon.